Welcome to this session of Field Security. In this session, we are going to be covering basic security. As always, if you've got any questions either now during the training session or later as you think about them, just add them to the comments and I'll reply. If you're watching this video and you're not actually part of the training session, you're equally welcome to add comments and I'll try and answer your questions as well. So, basic security advice. This session is going to be covering how to plan, how to protect yourself, how to protect your property, and how to protect the mission itself. In the next session, we're going to be talking about how to protect your online footprint from a cyber attack. So the best advice for planning is going across to the gov.uk Foreign Travel Advice webpage. In this site, there is so much information. It's an absolute wealth of really helpful and up-to-date information. It's basically a compiling of all the latest information that the UK government has about different countries, and it's available, and it's all free, and it's all without any form of login or anything. You can just go straight in there. So you just go to this place, you type in the country you're interested, so say for example the Philippines or Kenya or wherever it is, and it'll give you all the various bits of information. So it'll have a summary of what the country is. It'll have all the latest up-to-date information on security and safety, about the current terrorism threats that's going on in that particular country. It even comes with little maps. So here is a picture of Kenya. This little amber area here is a place where it's a little bit of a more concern and you want to be wary about going to. The particular reason why this one here is of particular concern is over in Somalia there's Al-Shabaab, who are a terrorist organization, and that's sort of encroaching across into Kenya, and those maps are just there. It's just really clear and really easy to understand what's going on. It's also got really helpful tips on stuff like local laws and customs, and how to make sure you don't unintentionally offend people. Entry requirements, so what you need to do for visas, how long it takes for those to go through, what information is required. Top tips on health, so link that into a future video sessions that we'll have, where that's the latest information as to what's needed to be done in terms of preparation. The latest information about natural disasters and things that we need to be thinking about, again linking to a later video session we'll be having. What to do about money, how easy is it to get, what you need to do to prepare before going, and also some travel advice and best tips in terms of help and support of how to get stuff from embassies, etc. So effectively what this place says is an UK unclassified intelligence facility. It's available, it's online, it's completely free, and it's absolute wealth of information to go there. And when you're in country, just keep on checking on this website because it's kept up to date all the time. Another thing to do before heading off as part of your planning is to look at the Foreign Travel Advice checklist. Really helpful. It just provides a really long list of different places that you can you think about doing, and top tips for that. And you click on these, and basically just gives you the top tips of what to do before you're thinking about doing. And you just work your way through this list, and it's just really helpful. So that, in a nutshell, is planning. We're now going to look a little bit about how to protect yourself. So the basics. A passport. Clearly you need one to go into country, but make sure you have a copy of it. Just take a photocopy or scan it in somewhere else, so that if you lose your passport and you have to go to the embassy to try and get another passport or a temporary bit of documentation, you've got the details that they'll need. And also, if you're in a particular country where you're mandated to carry a passport with you or proof of ID, then at least you've got something as a bit of a backup. Pickpockets. It is well worth having a little bit of think of the sort of tricks that they might use, and how to combat them. So the use of zips or buttons, it just makes things a little bit more difficult for pickpockets. Keep an eye out for people who might be keeping an eye on you to try and see what's going on. So this is an ATM machine, and this lady here is keeping an eye on that. The likelihood for that scenario is someone will perhaps bump into you, like this individual down here, grab your wallet, and now they've got your card and your PIN number, which means that you're going to be losing some cash. So keep an eye out, work in teams if you can at all possible. Muggings, minimise or hide your cash. A number of muggings sometimes can be violent or a threat of violence. So the safest thing is just to comply, or alternatives to try and bring attention to yourself. So if you are in that situation, you want to minimize how much you're potentially going to be losing. So either hide the cash, so in socks at different places, and perhaps even have kind of like, if I'm going to get mugged pocket and stuff to hand over, so that you minimize that threat and you can get away as quickly as you can without losing all the money that you're carrying on that particular day. Minimize what you've got on you as well. I'll come on to that in a second. Yeah, just be sensible what you're wearing and what you're carrying, which is exactly what this point is here. Valuables. Minimize what you've got. And if you've got expensive watches or anything like that, just try and minimize all those things because they just become really, you just become a soft target. And the next thing to do is just to know where the trouble spots are. So I'll let you have a little bit of a think as to where this particular place is here. So this is an assessment available again online, free on the internet, of where there's different threats for a particular city. Any ideas who that might be? That's London. Yep. So here you can see where the hotspots of particular trouble parts are, and where you perhaps need to be a little bit more conscious when you're traveling about. And if you can, work as a pair, kind of like work staggered, so that one person's looking at someone else, and you work. And then you change locations so that someone else is going around. So you just basically make it really quite difficult for whoever's trying to mug you or to get something off you to actually isolate you or to cause a situation where they can just easily lift. Do you know what? These individuals are good at what they do, and they will just go for the softest target. And if you're not the softest target or the easiest target, they'll probably just leave you alone. The next bit is about making sure you've got good travel plans and locations. So make sure you tell somebody where you're going and what time you're expected to be there, and when you get there to check in to make sure that everybody knows what's happening. So do tell someone what's happening, otherwise it's very difficult to raise the alarm. So another free thing that's available is location sharing on Google. So if the whole of your team have shared your GPS location with each other, it needs some 4G data to do that. You can basically see on a map, on Google Maps, exactly where everybody is, so that if someone is in a really weird location, you can start thinking, hang on a minute, this is a bit weird. What's going on here? And you can start raising the alarm or going to help or whatever's needed. The next one is download maps if you've got no 4G. So it's all very good. So you'll perhaps be aware that the little blue dot on Google Maps, this one here, that doesn't need 4G at all to be, whereas it works on GPS. It just works on the satellite. It knows exactly where you are with the phones, with a timing signal. So that little blue dot will appear in the right place on Google Maps. But if you haven't downloaded the map, then you'll basically blank. So you can download before going, while you've still got Wi-Fi or while you're still in country, before you perhaps lose that signal, the maps of where you're going and various other bits of information like travel information. You just go into the settings in Google. I can make another video if it's something you want me to do. I can add that to this series. And effectively, you can then just track where you're going. You're not using any signal whatsoever. You can see here that whilst I think this is I was in South Korea, that the airplane mode was on, but I downloaded the map and I know exactly where I was going. So I was, on this particular example, I was on a bus traveling across to see this particular location, and I could just follow exactly where we are. And importantly, because I couldn't speak Korean, I knew which bus stop to get off at, which was really helpful because I could track where we were. So another little top tip. If you're traveling with cash, split it between the group, your pockets and your luggage and anything else that's safe, because it just minimizes if someone gets mugged or if a bag gets lost or whatever it is, you've actually still got the majority of the cash between you, and it's been kept safe. Have some disguised places. So there's loads of these things available. I can probably put a link down to where we found this one in Amazon. So effectively what it is it's a hairbrush, right? And my wife uses this to comb her hair while we're overseas, and it looks pretty benign and pretty uninteresting. But inside it, you've got a little cubby hole, and you stick your little treasure inside here, how much ever it is. You roll it all up, and then you seal it up. And that's it. It just, when someone's rummaging through potentially in a room or whatever, they're going to be looking for stuff like purses. They're not going to be looking for hairbrushes and weird places for you to stash your cash. So just have a little bit and just be creative and inventive as to what that is. Another top tip about protecting yourself or just looking after yourself in a country, if you don't speak the language, that's Ddim, siarad, iaith. I'm Welsh, and speak a little bit of Welsh, but there's a lot of languages I don't speak. One of which was, and where I picked up this tip was while I was in Hungary, where I didn't really understand the language, so I gave myself this tip of just taking photographs of stuff that I need to perhaps use during the day while I'm away from people who perhaps know how to speak the language. So take a photograph of places to eat, perhaps places you need to go for to the bathroom. If you take photographs, picture paints 1,000 words. So you can go up to somebody and just kind of go, excuse me, do you know what this is? They'll perhaps look confused, look at the item on your phone, and then kind of go, oh, okay, I know where you are, and then just point you in the right direction as to where you need to go. So another little tip. Also, before you're going and as you're thinking about yourself, perhaps a little bit more longer term and perhaps a little bit serious, but it's worth thinking through the wills. If the worst happens while you're away, so that everybody knows what your wishes are, and also if you're incapacitated and you need someone else to make decisions, then it's also worth putting together a power of attorney. There's a wealth of information available through the government website and advice there. So that's how to protect you. Next, we're going to move on to how to protect your property. So a couple of tips on how to just do that. So the top one here is about just changing the locks. An awful lot of accommodation will just come with the cheapest locks in the world. They're about 10 quid, and the difference between the cheapest locks and the most expensive locks is about £10 to about £30, maybe £50 on top end bits. So the key bit to look for, regardless of branding really, is the number of stars here. This symbol here just basically means it's British rated. That's the name of the company. That's which way to fit it. But these little stars here are really important. So this is the inside mechanism of the lock. It's really easy to change. So effectively, this is, if you open the door on the side, as you look on the inside of the door, there's one screw round about where the door handle is, and what that does is it holds the lock in place. It's so easy. You don't really need to get a locksmith. If you do, just get one in. But effectively, you just need to make sure that you get the right sizes, both sides. Just measure from the middle outwards, on the lock you've got, buy the one you need, and get a 3-star rating as best you can. So this is one I replaced. Sometimes they come with nothing. Sometimes they've got stars on them as well. This is a 1-star rating, and basically the difference between this and the 3-star rating is it's really easy. You can basically put a pair of clamp or pliers on one end and give it a smack with a hammer, and it'll snap the lock on the £10 ones. The 0-star rating ones, it's actually quicker to do that than it is to use a key for a burglar. So if you do that, you've got anti-snap and anti-jam and anti all these different things. It just makes it really difficult getting in. So top tip on the door. Also, you perhaps want to consider having cameras, both external or internal ones. They don't have to be particularly expensive ones or a very complicated CCTV system, you know, because it's just useful for you to work out what's happened in the event something's going on, and also it's a prevention as well. Likewise, the same with an alarm system. If you've got an alarm system, then it just makes you, it's just another deterrent, and really all the things you're just thinking through is, it's basically this bit down here in red. With enough effort, a criminal will always get in. Your job is to make it too difficult. Basically, professional criminals will always get in. They'll always overcome something. Don't overly worry about that, but if you are more annoying to break into than somebody else, the burglars will probably just go somewhere else. I know that's not necessarily a nice thing to think, but that's basically how the mindset of criminals work. So do think that through. So you know, get this is available again. It's on Amazon. Dead easy to install. No wires. It's all wireless. There's just batteries inside here that you just need to change every year, a couple of years or so, and it's really easy to set up. Likewise, windows. A really common way for breaking into a property is to perhaps smash on the middle window, and then open up the inside window to get in smoothly and easily through the handle, so they just enter in without cutting themselves. What you can do is install a second lock, and it just makes it really difficult for them to do that, or anything to basically prevent an easy access through the window or through doors, whatever it is. Another tip to protect your property is about the keys. An awful lot of people walk in and just leave the keys near the door because it's a really convenient place for when you're on the way to pick up the car, or when you're leaving, whatever it is, to grab the keys and off you go. It's really easy also just to put some bit of metal, a long coat hanger, through the letterbox and fish hook your keys, bring them out, and all of a sudden they now got keys to your house or wherever you're staying, and also to the car. Not so helpful. So top tips is to try and have your keys around the corner from where the doors are to the property, and so it's just really inconvenient. If you want to go a little bit crazy, and my wife probably has a go at me for this a little bit of time, because I'll perhaps go a little bit over the top. We've actually got fake keys downstairs, and we've got our keys are actually kept upstairs, so that in the event someone does come in and grab the keys to try and take something, they grab a set of keys that don't actually open anything that we have. They're just really old keys for old stuff, and our actual keys are upstairs, but don't tell many people. So the bottom line from this is basically just to be as much of a pain as you possibly can. The more difficult it is for someone to break into your place, the more likely is they're going to go somewhere else. So that's protecting your property.